Okay, today I'm just wanted to go over some of the how-to basics of vinyl siding and just show you a few of the tools and stuff that you're going to need. And now all I've done here so far is I put down some plywood behind this insulation board. I'm actually using some 1-inch insulation board, and at the bottom what I do is I run a 1x across through here, and that just gives you something for your starter strip to nail to. And it's really quite simple once you kind of know some of the tools and stuff that you need. See, once you get your insulation on and you get your starter board, what you're going to do is you're going to take some of this here, and this is what your bottom piece of siding is going to snap into. Now, what I also like to do is I've got some tape, some seam tape, and I run across these seams and stuff just to make sure no water gets in there. As far as the corners go, you can see how I've installed this corner. I pretty much, you can either chalk a straight line. I measured over like 2 3/4, I think, is what it come out to be on each side, and I just get a straight mark and just nail it up, kind of snug it up to the top of the soffit there, and you'll put your first nail right at the top of that slot, and then you just nail the other ones in the center. So that's all there is to the corners, just getting them straight. You can see I've already got the siding on this side. Now, the only tools that I pretty much use for the siding is I use this big like 12-inch square, and I've got because I've got the 1-inch, I'm using some 2-inch galvanized nails, and this is this tape that I use. It's just a foil tape they use for like HVAC and stuff, but I found it to work pretty good. And just a knife and these some cutters like this, and I've had this pair for 10 or 15 years and they work just fine, and that's pretty much all I use for cutting. If it's cold out, you want to put your pieces inside before you cut them, because they will crack easily. So let's see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get this bottom piece on here. One more thing I wanted to mention. I didn't really go over the soffit here. When you're putting up this soffit, it comes in these long, like 12-foot or 10-foot pieces, and you can either get it with this vented or non-vented, just whatever. You don't have to have it. I just pretty much used all vented on mine down through there. I don't know if you can see it in this lighting, but anyways, I just used the vented, and the only thing that I did there is I've got a 2x4 that's nailed to my wall, and the very first thing that I do is I take my pieces and I cut them to length, and I just screw them into my end 2x4 there and up against the one at the house. Now there's other ways of doing it, but that's how I did it, and I already had the 2x4s that were on the house from the soffit that was there originally, the wooden. So I just used that, and it worked out real good. But I put that on first, and then I put the insulation board, and then I do the siding. And you'll notice that's the J channel up at the very top there, and that piece just kind of hides your final piece, and it just looks something like this. It's pretty much all you're going to use. You got your corner pieces, then you got your J channel, and of course your siding. And there's also, I can show you this inside corner. I don't have a piece of scrap laying around I'd show you, but this is you'll actually want to use an inside corner piece that's specially made for that, to keep the water and stuff out. But that's how that kind of goes in there. And this is what it kind of looks like. Now I don't have the fascia. There's fascia going to go on the end of that 2x4 there, but I've got all the soffit and everything, and the siding up there. And let me show you. Now when I got up to the top, now this is, you know, this is a little scrap piece. This is what your siding looks like. Now when you get up to the top, you're going to run into a situation where you got a gap, and you're going to have to cut a piece like this. And that's what you see up there at the top. You just cut a piece like that. You don't need anything else. You just put your piece of J-channel along the top, and this will just snap right into that, slide right into that J-channel. And it snaps in there and it holds it. I know they sell an underseal trim, but you know, you don't need it. It'll snap in there and it holds it just fine. And I don't use the underseal trim at all, even under the windows. I just found it's unnecessary. You don't need it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started putting this piece on here, and I'll follow up. Okay, I've got this foil tape on a seam. I just wanted to show y'all this. I forgot to mention this step. What I like to use down here, and it's probably not completely necessary, but you know, anything that'll keep the bugs and you know, the weather off of it, even though it's treated. I like to take a piece of this drip edge, and you can see how it's just the right thickness when you turn it this way, that it goes right under here, right against the brick, and kind of seals that off. And this is the unfinished side. So I like to start out with that, you know, just to make it a little bit more protected, because this under here is, you know, just plywood or the OSB, and you know, just something to keep it covered up and keep the bugs off of it and stuff. Yeah, that's how I start out, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this other piece on here, and then I'll get this starter strip going. I wanted to show you, I found a piece of this inside corner. Just show you all these pieces. This is an inside corner, and you can see how it's shaped. You really need to use on this, you have to use a miter saw or a hand saw. This is like the only thing that I haven't been able to cut with my cutters over there. But other than this, you got your inside corner, your J-channel that you use around the windows, and up at the top like I was showing y'all earlier, and then your outside corner. And like I said, these are really simple. I mean, you just put them on there, get your straight lines, and just nail it, you know, every foot or so up through there, just to make sure it's secured and make sure it's straight. Of course, this is the soffit I was talking about that goes up at the top. And wish I could show you kind of how that goes, but it's real simple. You can kind of see how I got it there. You just lay them. You start off at one end, and you lay this thing, and you'll just either screw it or nail it, whatever you want to do to this end or to both ends there, and it holds pretty good. And then they just interlock and just go. You just continue all the way down with it. Makes it look really nice. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get this other piece of this drip edge on, and then I'll get that starter strip on, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, and here it is after I've got my starter strip put on. And you can see how it's all nice and straight. Now I already had my bottom board straight, so I didn't really have to do much as far as making sure that was straight. I just had to eyeball it and keep it straight with the edge of the board. Now ideally, I guess if you don't have a straight area to start with, you want to just measure from the bottom up to your eave there. Not really that critical. Just make sure that it's even on both sides. Make sure that as you start, that, you know, if you've got 8 foot on one side, you know, you don't want it to be 8 foot and, you know, 3 inches, or where you want to make sure that it's 8 foot and 3 inches on both sides. You just want to keep it as even as you can up through there so it's not noticeable as you go up. There's only like a 1/4 inch of difference from one end to the other when I measure the eaves on this, so it's going to be fine. And another thing I forgot to mention, you're definitely going to need a pair of these snips. It's one other tool that you're going to need when you're cutting that starter strip, because it's metal. You really need the metal. They did make the plastic at one time, it just wasn't as sturdy. Also, I use screws when putting this in. You can see the main reason I do that is just in case I mess up, which I have. I can take those screws back out really easy and re-straighten it or realign it. But let's see. Let me get a piece here, and I'm going to show you just how this kind of starts out. Now, once you get, you know, this is straight and you got your corners on. I mean, of course, you're going to put J-channel up the top, but you can put that on after you get started on this. But once you get this on and got your corners, I mean, anyone could put this stuff up from here. It's really easy. And let me just grab a piece and I'm going to follow up here. All right, there was one thing that I didn't know if I'd mention or not when I was touching on this. When you do your corners, it's really not that critical, but you at least want to extend it like a 1/2 inch below where your siding is going to be. At least, I'd say at least about a 1/2 inch is how I do mine. You know, you can do it a little less or whatever, but make sure to extend it down past where the siding is going to be. And also, I don't know if I mentioned, when you slide your siding in, you want to give it at least, I give mine like a 1/4 inch gap in there. Usually comes out about right. So just give it a little space for that expansion. Okay, I've grabbed a couple pieces and all I've done is just set these in here and just show you how easy this starts out. I mean, of course, this is already straight, so you don't really have to do anything. You just want, when you're putting these up, the only trick is just as you're putting them on, don't try to over pull or anything. In other words, if you're going to keep a certain amount of tension, make sure you keep that all the way. Don't be pulling more, because this stuff will actually give a lot, and as you go up you can actually get crooked if you're pulling up more on one end than you are the other. Another easy way, if you're that worried about it, you can simply do like I do. I just kind of check from time to time. I'll measure down and make sure that it's staying the same. You can also run you a couple chalk lines or so and just make sure that you're not getting off track. But like I said, once you get started from here, it's really simple. Now these come in like 12-foot pieces. Now I've got about 18 foot across through here. Now you want to make sure they're staggered. A lot of people will say, you know, you want to make sure they're staggered equally. Well, that's good. I really don't like to have more seams than I have to. So when I go to do this back side here, I'll run it 12 foot and then I'll just start from that end and run it that way. You know, it's going to be staggered enough. The seams will be in the center. I'm not that worried about it. I've never had any trouble. But it just, the other way, you know, if you made sure they were equally staggered, you're going to end up with 3 pieces. I just don't see that as being necessary. So that's how I do mine. Everybody does theirs probably a little different, but that's how I do mine. But you just mainly, you don't want the seams on these pieces to end up in the same spot. So in other words, you wouldn't want to have the next one, as you put it on, end up right there and have a seam in the same spot. As long as they're staggered, you're all right. Like I said, these things snap together really easy. You can see the little groove there, and you got the lip here. And once you just nail these every 16 inches or so, definitely try to get it in the studs if you can. I've got a line here. I don't know if you can see it, but I've made sure to mark where my studs were, so when I go to nailing these up, I'm going to get into that stud. Like I said, putting these together, real simple. Just lay it on there and it locks in. You can feel it lock in. One of the things you want to make sure of is that as you're putting these up, definitely double check. Make sure, because sometimes they will slide back out, come unlocked and slip down, and then you're going to have a piece popping out. So go back and always double check, make sure that they're popped into place and you got just a slight bit of tension, so you know it hadn't slipped down, because I've had that happen before and it's a nightmare. Like I said, I've just been working on this project and I just wanted to kind of go over some of the basics. And like I said, you don't need that many tools. You know, I've kind of showed you how simple it is, other than just a cutting knife and some metal cutters and some vinyl cutters and, you know, a big square and, you know, not a whole lot of pieces. Outside, inside corners, J-channel. But once this goes up, you can kind of see the finished product here. And this is what I was talking about, the way I stagger them, if you can see these seams. But you want to make sure you're also keeping all of your seams the way they overlap. Keep them going the same way. You know, in other words, when you do the next one, make sure that it's overlapped the same way. If you come down here, it's the same way. But the way, when I done this, when I started off, I did what I was talking about down there. I didn't try to make sure everyone was staggered different. I just made sure that it was staggered. So I started off with a 12-foot piece and I run it here, and then I come from that end and I'd cut it to length and put it over there. And then the same thing, I just come from the other end with the 12-foot piece and it overlapped to about right there. And I just kind of work it out to where I don't have to cut more than I have to. Let's see, there's another thing I wanted to mention. Now, when you're joining these pieces together, there's the factory edge. Now you can cut this in there yourself, it's not that difficult, but just make sure that you're not cutting your factory edge off that you're going to be butting up against there. That's kind of hard to do with one hand, but anyways, you know, I give it about an inch or so. That's how I do mine. Like I said, it works out good. I just overlap and I leave about an inch right in there. And so in other words, what I'll do, if I run this piece up here, I'm going to stick my factory edge on here, and a lot of times I don't even use a tape. I'll just lay my piece down here and just lay it. It'll come past this edge and I'll just mark it about where I think that it's going to be, and sometimes I'll just cut it right there. Just cuts down on mistakes from measuring, but that's pretty much how I do all of them. I'll just lay it there. Once I've got my gap here right, I'll kind of temporarily lock it into place and I'll run it down to the end and just mark it and cut it and tack it up. But anyways, I hope that you know, some of this has made sense. Like I said, I've just been working on this project and I just wanted to take the time to kind of go over some of this and show you a few things. Now, when my windows that I got already have this like indentation, this J-channel on it, so there's no need to put J-channel around these windows. Now around the door here, I did have to put it. You can see I had to butt it up against there, but you just run it up around stuff and it's real simple. And then, like I said, up at the top, I haven't finished, but all I'll do is take a full piece. I'll measure from that bottom lip up to about where it's going to set in that J channel, and I'll cut it that length all the way down think that's like 4" or so. I'll just cut a 4", rip it down, and it just snaps right up into place. And like I said, that lip holds it, and you don't have to do anything else. As a matter of fact, I showed you over here. This is that top piece right there. That's all it is. It's just a little 4" piece like this right here that I've just cut and ripped, and it just snaps up into place. And that's all there is to that. So anyways, I may follow up with another video later, but I just wanted to go over some of this. You know, anybody that's thinking about trying a project, if you've got some rotten siding on your house and it's in bad shape, this is definitely the least expensive way to go about it. You know, fix your rotten boards, cover it, you know, go ahead and insulate it good while you're at it with some 1" foam, and put this siding on there, and it looks really nice when it comes together. So anyhow, I said I may follow up with another video when I do some more of this, maybe show some more steps. But thanks for watching.